What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, catching up on these comments. We got another comment, or responding to comments video here. I know I'm behind, again, like 2 weeks. That's everything to do with the fact that I'm traveling, and there's been a lot of other things to talk about in the time that I've had to make videos, but we're going to work through it. I apologize ahead of time if some of these are already out of date, but I was just looking through some of the ones that we'll be talking about today, and they're not. So there's definitely some things to discuss. First of all, is Snowballs here saying, confirming what Asmon had said earlier, that you can toggle between gold foil and non-gold foil to select lower level cards if you own both. Pretty sure Tails covered this in a video. So shout out to Asmon for bringing that to my attention. And shout out to Tails for spreading the good word. I had no idea about that, but thank you for letting me know. Now, Renier says, my hand has played for over 6 years and will keep contributing to the real player count for another 6 for sure. Awesome. Very, very cool. Glad to see people are still bullish. Sorry, Smurf says, can you make a video about the cards that are getting burned this last week's and also these days? CL cards and reward cards. I don't know if you're tracking them or if you can check, but a lot are getting burned since a few weeks ago. And again, this was a couple of weeks ago. I believe that's where a lot of the DEC is coming from. I have not been tracking it. I can try to dig in, but if anybody has information or more specifically data that they've been tracking, that would be super helpful, because I haven't been tracking it, and there's no, at least as far as I know, at least with Splinter cards, I should say, there's nothing that shows like how many cards burned per day. It just shows the total, and if I don't have a starting point and an ending point, right, there's no reference point for me, and that'll be difficult. But I've been hearing the same thing from many folks, that is where a lot of the extra DEC has been coming in from, because I made that video maybe a week or two ago about, who's burning SPS right now, right? With SPS being so low, and then specifically with DEC being well below peg, like, why would people be burning SPS? And I think some of the comments to that were the fact that people were burning cards instead because we're so close to that burn value. But I'll try to dig into that a little bit more. Thank you, sorry Smurf, for the comment. So Gady says, been playing since day one, supported the Kickstarter, love the game, don't play anymore, come on team. So see, this is an interesting source of concern, I would say, for many, or at least should be, right? It's one thing when you're losing folks that came in maybe during the bull run, we'll just call it like the class of 2021 with me. Because a lot of people came in probably for different reasons, but majority of it was for the earnings and for whatever, and then slowly fell out for whatever reason, right? They didn't like the game as much as they thought they would, and blah blah blah. But if you're losing folks that were here from day one, that's rough, man. So Gady, I hope you stick around just to see where things go from here. But if you're not playing anymore, hopefully you're botting or something, or renting out your cards. All right, so sorry, Smurf says, the problem is not SPS price in this moment. This moment will pass one day, and we will have SPS at 20 cents, and even more next year. Cards are not enough, and even with the next edition, which will sell very fast, Modern will pay a lot of money in rewards. The problem is what we will do in 2 years from now when SPS finishes its print. We will rush to take a decision in the last moment, and it'll be a bad one because not enough time to debate it. I will hold SPS until it gets to $1 next year, but after this full print $3 billion, I'm afraid the team will not be able to pay any more for ranked, guilds, land, etc. And we will hurt ourselves bad. I get what you're saying. This is definitely something to be concerned about, but I think there's way more things to be concerned about now. I don't know that it's a guarantee that we get to 20 cents or $1 next year. At this point, again, it's about bringing players in, right? That's kind of like the Hail Mary that the team is throwing now. It's about bringing more players in at astronomical levels to what we have now, and what they're trying to do is create that experience. If they can do that, then yeah. But at this point in time, we're losing a lot of folks. I mean, you just saw here with Gady, right? You're losing a lot of the folks that had spent a lot of money in the game. And so how do you find folks that will, A, either come in and spend big money, or B, have spent big money and will continue to do so with each and every one of the sets that comes out? All right, Supreme Victory Studio says, anyone else miss the maintenance and Town Hall pre-post streams? Yeah, I do. I do. It's just been crazy. Once I'm back home, which again is not going to be for another week and a half or so, I'm going to try and get back into streaming a little bit more, even if it's not during the the maintenance or windows or whatever. I know I keep saying that, but I think I just need to suck it up and try to stream. And a big part of that is, for folks who don't know, I'll be meeting up with Tails, and we've been talking about some of the other new games that are coming out, so I may be streaming a lot of other games at that time. Don't worry, this will be Splinterlands content, but like I said, it's just an exciting time for Web3 gaming. All right, so Pomp says, mint number for cards, not based on the time it was minted, but based on CP. Mint number for cards, not based on the time it was minted. Okay. Allow the over combining of cards. The card with the most CP is mint number 1. Create a mint number leaderboard. A card that combines more than 50% of the float becomes mathematically. That's interesting. Again, that seems like a short-term solution, not a long-term one. It probably sounds like I'm siding with the team here, but again, like that's not something that draws in new players. That's something that maybe we would do here, but that the number of people willing to like shell out a lot more to get, whatever random leaderboard, I think is decreasing, right? So that's not a leaderboard I think would be worthwhile to pursue. I mean, I'm all for leaderboards. I'm all for whales, fighting for leaderboard spots. Don't get me wrong. But this sounds like a significant overhaul based on a metric, CP, that the team doesn't really want to use. So Powell says optimistic, pessimistic. Maybe we should all be realistic. I think we try to keep it realistic here. I call myself out for being too optimistic or too pessimistic. All right, Crypto Wario says, isn't the $2 season pass only for wild format? Is that really so bad for those who play in modern? No, it's not, Crypto Wario. So, I mean, I think that's a great thing to point out. It's not bad for anybody that's playing in modern, but the thing is, modern has a ticking clock to it, right? So if you have cards right now, specifically the modern cards, specifically Chaos Legion, I should say, at some point, probably within the next year, at this point, Chaos Legion will no longer be there. So are you willing to then go and buy more cards, whether it's Rebellion or whether it's the new set, in order to be able to continue playing in Modern? That's the question that we don't really know the answer to in terms of how many people will do that. Jedi also says, I love all aspects of this idea. This is the consumable card that I talked about. Wow, that was a while ago. Tom says, wow, the level of negativity here is crazy. I have my concerns about the game, but I still play every day. I'm acquiring new assets all the time, and I generally like the direction we are heading. Just wanted to balance out the comments. Well, I appreciate that. I like the direction that we're heading to. I don't think that the game economy is agreeing with that. I don't think that the game economy is representative of that either. I think this is something that the team probably knew or had a feeling was going to happen, and they're like, we just got to suck it up. Now, maybe not as bad as they thought, but at the end of the day, keep in mind, they're trying to bring in way more players than we have now. And those players, if they come into a situation and are happy, then, it kind of makes us irrelevant. I talked about that previously, and I will still make a video about it at some point. Keeg says, would be nice if you gave discounts or increased findings based on research, or increased findings based on research. I mean, it'd be nice to just do something with research, because that's not a, financial motivator in any way. Ardenex says, this video is so timely because I was just about to ask the guild what all these symbol titles next to our names. Oh, the prefix titles? Yep, those are out and about. Dr. D says, I sold all my cards and I still bought in Wild with just Soulbound cards. I have Gold League level cards and I'm currently in Champion 2 fighting against Silver Gold level cards. Yeah, I mean, look, you're not the only one. Now the question is, what happens when the Wild season permit goes into effect and a lot of those Silver Gold level cards rising up to Champion are no longer up there, meaning that the ratings inflation is not as high, meaning that you don't go as high and you're actually facing off against max level decks. CompuTV says the only thing that can fix the economy is growth. It's that simple. True. Growth in player base, I would say, and growth in demand. DJ Clue from International Travel Channel, thank you so much for the comment. Power says, should team members be allowed in this? I don't think they should. Yes, it's their own money, but they knew what was coming, so would focus on research, whereas the rest of us, it was just a promise. Again, this just goes back to the conflict of interest, right? So in terms of like land prefix titles, I would say prefix titles were talked about well before anything with land was put into play. So for this specifically, like the boost that you get from ranked play, that was put out in the white paper in March of last year, right? 2023. And we didn't get prefix titles launched until this year. So I would say that's more than enough time for everybody to understand what it is. I don't know that the team had a specific advantage on that, but just go into your comment, like it is what it is. Supreme Victory Studios, an act of God will ... All right. So Postbeat says maybe it could have an ability that means it can't receive buffs to reduce the impact. This is on the land creating card. I mean, that'd be interesting if it has an ability where it's literally just a scarecrow. I like it. Fiend says, I'm thinking these titles should be based on per hour production rather than total accumulated. Not only does having it based on total accumulated make it less likely new people will try for it as time goes by, they get further and further out of reach, which will only further the disinterest of anyone not already close to a title. It's already for whales, but having based... okay, so I get where you're coming from. Now, I kind of disagree with this. I think that there could be an additional title added, right, for people who are producing the most research per hour now. There should be an additional title for that, just so new people can come in. But I think you need to reward the folks that have been here for a while by having them having it be based on how much is accumulated. Now, what could make things interesting? And I think that this is something that probably hasn't been discussed, because I think most people think research is just going to be however much you have. But I think research should be a burnable or usable token, right? Not sellable, right? It's all going to be soulbound to your account. But there should be moments in which people have to spend research or burn research in order to do something. At which point then it becomes about, hey, do you want to accumulate the most? Or do you want to spend on whatever this cool thing is that's going to advance your land XYZ, right? So whether it's like getting access to a higher level building, you have to spend this research. But now doing so, right, means you're no longer the Vonarch or the Magister or whatever it is, because you just have to spend a significant amount. And so there's a game theory then between a lot of the top accounts where it's just like, hey, I know that they don't have this building set up yet and they're going to do it at some point. I'm going to wait until they do it. And then it's like, no, I'm going to wait until they do it. And it adds a level of like intrigue to everything. But I agree with you that something based on per hour production could be implemented. And you would only need to add one more title then, right? You already have Vonarch, which is the most accumulated. Add one more title that offers like who is producing the most per hour right now. And that could be traded back and forth based on people turning on more land. Ghostly BG says, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot for writing this. All titles, Warden included, should be based on active participation in land. For instance, I have 10 plots, but currently I have 0 active. So I don't think that I should be able to use the Warden title. It should be given to people who have at least 5 fully active plots. That seems very fair. Yeah, I mean, that's probably just an oversight. I agree with you that it should really just be for active land plots. If you're just holding them and not doing anything, then... I don't know, but then again, maybe that's how it was written, so people bought 5 land plots because of that. But I don't know. I agree with you that land should at least be active in some way. All right, so Powell says, this is old news, but I want to get your idea or your take on this team member Glint exploit. I know Matt said on the town hall no rules were broken and everyone had the same opportunity to take advantage of this, but what does it say when your own staff exploit the system? And also, how do we know this wasn't pre-planned? We don't have the foresight to see upcoming changes, whereas team members are privy to this info. For me, it's another reason why team members shouldn't be allowed to participate. I mean, I gave my take on it already. A lot of people disagree. No rules were broken. This team member was running a bot farm in the same way that anybody can run a bot farm. And when they saw that there was an opportunity, they went and took advantage of it in the same way that anybody else could have taken advantage of it. In fact, I remember the day that those rewards came out, it's not even that I thought that they would be nerfed, but I just thought to myself, like, whoa, these rewards are too good. I'm going to spend all my Glint now, right? I'd been stacking Glint to get reward cards for the rarity draws and all that, right? But when I saw that the rewards are so good, I spent a ton. I bought 100 chests, right? So again, everybody had the same incentive to go in. You can make the argument in defense of this team member that maybe they didn't realize how good it would be, and when they did, they went in and bought it. Or you can make the argument the other way and say, well, maybe they helped design or were privy to the info beforehand. Either way, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. I think as soon as it was made available to everybody, we all acted on that same kind of incentive and had the time to do so before they changed things around. To further that, because this person was a team member and not somebody outside, they gave a lot of the rewards back. They didn't have to, and had this been done by a bot farm that was truly extracting value, I don't think that they would have, and there wouldn't have been a need to. So it's not that I'm sitting here trying to defend, the action taken necessarily. I'm just agreeing with Matt that no rules were broken because this was available to everybody. And that information was not something that was completely, let's put it this way. That information was not something that, how do I word this properly? There were still prizes left available. So had this person done it in a way where they took everything and then there was nothing left for folks, then I would have been like, okay, well, maybe they used some information to their advantage and they got in before everybody. But there were still prizes available, and there are still prizes available now when that exploit or whatever was discovered. I hate to even term it an exploit. It was a mistake by Matt, and he owned up to it. I respect that. He owned up to it, saying that, you know, the numbers were just too large. He didn't think through. He put in an extra zero or took out a zero, whatever it was. And so ultimately, again, it's not something that I think is great, but I also don't think I think it's kind of a witch hunt to go after that, if that makes sense. I think it's a waste of our energy to go after it. I understand that there's a lot of folks who are saying, you know, team members, blah, 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 this and that. And I'm very open about the fact that, like, yes, there are conflicts of interest. That's what you're signing up for. There's always going to be somebody creating the card, the token, the whatever, right? And therefore, like, they're always going to have insider advantage. Like, that's just what it is. It doesn't matter what project, right? It just doesn't matter what project. Let's go to Prime, for example, right? They know what the next set is going to release. And if that's going to nerf or balance cards, I mean, they can go dump on the marketplace. And so it's not something that's unique to Splinterlands. I think it's something that you sign up for every single time you play in any Web3, not just game, but any Web3 project. So to me, this might sound cynical, but it's just the cost of doing business. If you want to be in this ecosystem, then you kind of accept that. And I would say, to the defense of the team, I think that they are way more transparent than many other teams out there. And I'm not even trying to hate on other teams. I'm trying to give props to the Splinterlands team for talking through a lot of things beforehand to their own detriment, right? Because then we're all like, oh, this is a really cool idea. When's it coming, right? It's like, oh, whatever. Too much time passes, blah, 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 all that. And then Matt and the team even putting out proposals to get community feedback about ideas that they have before they're implemented. So I don't know. To me, if I'm looking at this in a vacuum, yeah, obviously it sucks. But if I'm looking at this in the context of everything, right, just within Splinterlands, the context of everything that's going on, and then within the broader crypto, like it's a non-starter for me. That's just what it is. All right, so Keeg says, why over a year left in Modern without Rebellion? Shouldn't CL be rotating out within 6 months? Or are you expecting the team not to stick to the planned release schedule? I mean, the release schedule that the team said early on in Matt's tenure was 18 months. So if we had, December 2023 as the launch of Rebellion, my expectation would be the next set comes out summer 2025, right? That's 18 months. Which means at this point, summer of 2024, we have another year of Chaos Legion in there. Now, they may shorten that a little bit. I don't think they're going to shorten it to a year because Rebellion is in print until the end of, or like mid-December or so. So my guess is they would only move it up maybe 3 months, right? If Rebellion burns or sells out in December, maybe we get it in April rather than June or July, right? March or April. Sudion says, the problem is the DAO don't want to approve spending on anything. We need to use those funds if we're to help out the game. I agree. The DAO is very stingy, and it should be in certain aspects. But the team is saying that they need the funds and they could use the funds, and that's a conversation I think we should probably be more open to having. But again, that's just my opinion. All right. So Basil says, this is a tough one. It's definitely going to hurt players like me who are quite casual. I've been here since 2018, only ever played manually, never botted, and I've only racked up less than 15k battles total in that time. Wow. All right, so that's how casual I am. I've never left the game and come back. That's literally the rate I enjoy playing it. How many people do they expect to want to come in and treat this game like a job or as their only recreational activity? I've been really excited about MPE because I thought it would benefit more casual players who aren't ready to invest heavy. This paywall forces players to take it seriously and do the math. Or do the math, make the right purchases, or just go home. I hope they can find enough players, but I will be very possibly forced out of league play simply because I don't play enough to warrant the subscription. That's an interesting point. I mean, I've always been looking for casual players, so thank you for speaking it up, Basil. This is interesting to me because I agree with you in the sense that a lot of stuff that they've done has kind of taken the casual nature of the game away. And I almost wonder if there should be something that offers casual play for people that still has some kind of gamification earning element to it. And maybe you could make that argument that, bringing leagues back would do that. But I just kind of, I don't know. I want to see where things go with this. And, ultimately we'll have to wait and see. But I appreciate your perspective for sure. All right, user says, we shouldn't buy our own assets. This is why we're screwed. We keep selling our stable coins and other cryptos instead of acquiring it and kept accumulating our assets. Of course, it's a bad sign for outside investors. We're like a dog. Okay, hey, I'm the king of the neighborhood. Of course, no offense to your idea. It's intuitive, but it would be a dire mistake from an economic point of view. All right, so this is my idea that the DAO should be buying SPS to replace things in the future with the DEC that's burned. So we're not adding DEC inflation. We're just replacing whatever DEC is burned, keeping DEC neutral to a certain extent while still having other sinks. I get where you're coming from. Look, it's an idea just to help. So here's the thing. I actually don't think it's a bad idea in the sense of it's only a short-term Band-Aid. I was really thinking of it as a way for the DAO to fund itself in the future, right? Take some of these DEC sinks and turn them into SPS faucets for the DAO so that the DAO can continue that. But there are probably better ways where we don't have to get rid of the DEC in the DAO or, recirculate that back out. I think that promo cards or whatever else could be used in a way where SPS can come in to the DAO as, something that the DAO sells, maybe in conjunction with the team. But again, that would need to be sold in SPS, not DEC, and that takes away from the product-backed stablecoin idea. All right, so Ricardo says, love the idea. Funding. We should think of how the team would fund such a project. Ideas. I mean, give them money for a developer. It's really what it is. So King Arminius says, love the idea. These are the kinds of concepts that can revolutionize the game in an instant. And our community overall has so many equally genius ideas to further progress of this game. I would want Scarecrow to be restricted to the following rules. Oops, let me go down. Has new ability Lifeless that prevents it from any kind of buffs or abilities. Yeah, somebody mentioned that. It will be the only card with this ability. Scarecrow could just be a damage sink of 1. That's it. And it should never be able to be made permanent, staying permanent in the state of consumability. But these are the kind of ideas land needs to start becoming special. Well, I appreciate that. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's kind of validating for me to hear a lot of folks agreeing with that. And hopefully, again, this is not an ego thing. I like the idea. I'm putting it out there because I think it's good. Hopefully, if everybody or majority of people think that it's a good idea, including the team, it's something that can be implemented at some point, right? I do genuinely believe the best ideas in this type of situation, right, with the DAO and proposals and all that, the best ideas will win. And so, I think a Lifeless ability would be awesome. So you guys have definitely taken this and run with it, and I love it. So KCC says, I'm going to stay here no matter what. Awesome. Dark Raw says Splinterlands is an unregistered scam. I mean, I could agree with you, but if I agree with you, then I think the same thing about ETH too. ETH and everything down. They're all unregistered securities and scams. But that's just the Bitcoin maxi in me. All right, so let's just do a couple more. I don't want these to be too long. We're already at 23 minutes. So let's just do a couple more. We made it to 11 days behind. And like I said, I will continue to knock these out as quickly as I can. So Jura J, that's what I'm going to leave it at. It says, you talk only about unlocking, but where is the profit for players? You're saying players collected the cards for free the whole time, and you don't get the full price from the market. The fees are 6% when you buy something from the market, so players will be at a loss the whole time, but 17x burned, Glint, okay. So we should get the cards for free, or 5x maximum is reasonable. We already spent our time, Glint, and staked SPS. So this is where, again, I've talked about this before. I think giving out rewards in the as NFTs in this way is going to be incredibly difficult for any project. Now, you look at this and say, okay, play to earn. You're still earning SPS, which is a tradable token. And I know this goes against the grain of everything that we've seen over the last 5-6 years, where people were earning the cards, and getting value from them. But from a gameplay perspective, I think you almost have to go soulbound, because otherwise this stuff just gets exploited like crazy. And therefore, it ends up becoming something where, Again, I think you could offer NFTs in a different way, but getting them every single day in reward chests or in the glint shop, that's going to be tough. The play to earn aspect of this game is SPS and will remain SPS hopefully for the foreseeable future, but I don't know that it would be possible for us to ever go back to these reward cards without those reward cards getting immediately dumped on the market if they don't have a significant burn. Now, the thing is, you're looking at this and saying, well, where's the value that I get? Well, you get to play with the cards, and those cards earn you value. You didn't have to buy them, right? But they add to your game experience, right? Your entertainment experience. They add to your earning ability because these cards are very meta, right? A lot of them are very meta and probably will continue to be. And so in that way, like it's a value add for the game, not to your earnings, but a value add for the game. And it's just a paradigm shift that a lot of people are going to absolutely hate if they don't hate it already. But the truth is that at this point, the only thing I think that you could give out as a reward is SPS. And you could even see from that, SPS is suffering. So if you do that with cards again, cards just go through the floor. And we saw that. So Manfred Hem says, how will that help onboarding and retaining? This is the same video. So unlocking reward. I mean, I don't think that helps onboarding and retaining. I think if anything, the new player experience is going to help with onboarding and retaining. What this should help with is those cards holding their value, right? That's just what it should be. They're holding their value, and because the cost to unlock them is so significantly high, people will only unlock them if there's proper, true demand for it. They won't get dumped on the market for pennies the same way that the previous reward cards were. And I think that that's important, especially for all the folks here that talk about cards holding their value, right? So it's just a different way to look at it. All right, we'll end with this one with Mondroid. Shout out to Mondroid. When it comes to soulbound cards and matching them to Rebellion pack value, it actually makes a lot of sense because if you can buy cheap reward cards like the Pelacors, then store packs will have a hard time competing. And we're seeing that now with most people skipping a lot of Rebellion cards altogether. We don't want to make another batch of 1-cent cards. It would actually be way better for our game if everything was around the same value, whether it came from a reward card or Rebellion pack. You know what? Mondroid just said everything I was trying to say in a much more concise, succinct, and perfect way. So we're going to end with that, as I said. Thank you, Mondroid. I couldn't agree more. That is all I have for you guys in this video. I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.